Welcome to the instructional video for the learner assessments of 2021 Grade 1 School Readiness Program. The learner assessment. The learner assessments consist of, firstly, the learner baseline assessment booklet, which will be conducted in the first week for all the Grade 1 learners. Then, a learner reassessment booklet, which will be conducted in the 8th week of the program, and this will be conducted on learners who have followed the support program. The learner assessment. It is important to note that the baseline assessment and the reassessment are identical. This is to assist the educator to evaluate the learner's progress after the completion of the support program. The educator will make use of the educator's manual, which will have the instructions of the learner assessment on page 5, and Addendum 1, which are the educator's tools for assessment that are found on page 14 to 19. Assessment consists of 3 parts. A part 1, that are the learner's activities, and a part 2, which are the observation sheets. This is then explained in this video. And then there's a part 3, which is the speech and language screening checklist that will be explained in another video. The assessment also includes a scoring sheet found on page 14, where the educator will indicate the learner's score and whether or not the learner will follow the support program. Looking at the learner baseline assessment. Each learner will receive their own baseline assessment booklet. The educator must please write the learner's name in front of the booklet and the learner information on page 2. Starting with part 1, learner activities. Firstly, ask the learner to write his or her name. Then ask the learner to draw a picture of him or herself. The educator can provide sufficient time for the learners to complete this activity. Educators should also note that no marks are allocated for this activity. Going to the coloring in picture. A friendly note to all educators is that at the top of each page and activity are instructions to guide you on what is expected of the learner. Ask the learner to color in the picture of the fish. Also note that no marks are allocated for this activity. The memory activity consists of a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1. Educator asks the learners to look at the 10 objects on the page. 10 seconds will be provided. After the 10 seconds, the learners will be asked to page to part 2. The learners will then, with their pencil or coloring in pencils, circle all the objects that they remember seeing on the previous page. A score of a mark out of 10 is then given for each correct answer. Matching of shapes. The learner will be asked to draw a line from the left to the right to match the shapes that look identical. A score out of 6 is given. Searching for hidden objects. The learner will be asked to find 6 objects in the picture of things that they can see in the block below. A score out of 6 is given for this activity. The cutting activity. The learner will be asked to cut out the circle at the bottom of the page and paste it inside the square at the top of the page. no marks are allocated for this activity. Connecting the dots. The learner will be asked to connect the dots on the right to be identical as those on the left. A score out of 4 will be given for the learner. Counting activity. The learner will be asked to count the dots on the left and match it by drawing a line from the left to the right to the correct number. A score out of 6 is given. Now looking at part 2. Use Addendum 1 in the Educator manual to conduct the observation sheet. Evaluate the learners individually and mark them on their observation sheets. The educator can do this by calling each learner to her table. Instructions on the observation sheet are found on the first column. The educator will then indicate the learner's score in the second column. Carry over all allocated marks to the second column. Allocate 1 point for activities that the learner scored full marks and a 0 for activities that the learner did not score full marks. The learner will then have a mark out of 8. 6 or less out of 8. Learners can then benefit from the gross and fine motor perceptual program that will follow in the next 6 weeks. Now looking at the learner reassessment booklet. All learners that participated in the support program for 6 weeks will complete the learner reassessment in week 8. The score in the baseline assessment and the score in the reassessment should be compared to indicate whether the learner benefited from the program or whether the learner still needs further support. A friendly reminder, as informed in the beginning of the video, the learner reassessment is identical to the learner baseline assessment. Looking at the learner baseline assessment part 3. Part 3 of the learner baseline assessment is a speech language screening checklist, and this will be explained in a separate video. Thank you.